So I'm going to talk a little bit about the equinox, and there's just this general understanding that every moment is its own birthing. So you can look at an event in time and sort of see how that's a snapshot or a holograph of the cycles that are about to come. So the equinox, a chart of the equinox itself, is sort of a blueprint for this next season. So here in the northern hemisphere, we're entering fall, springtime in the southern hemisphere. So let's look into the energies of this. We have a few things that are really significant to speak to. First off, Saturn just stationed direct. So whenever any planet in astrology begins to move direct, it's a turning point within consciousness. It doesn't mean like all of a sudden there's clarity and you know exactly what to do. It means energy is beginning to open up and move forward in a constructive and clear way. As with all things, this takes time. So when Saturn stations direct, it's not really moving. It's pretty much stopping, and then it goes really slow and gradually builds up momentum and speed. So that happened last week, and then we have this week and next week and the week after. Basically, in this period of time, Saturn is building speed. And so what that represents is, within consciousness, there is a growing light of constructive self-knowledge and clarity for us to use and act upon. Saturn's all about maturity and self-responsibility. One of the deepest lessons within Saturn is referencing an internal ethic, an internal sense of responsibility that doesn't come from an external standard of who you're supposed to be, what you're supposed to do, what your life is supposed to look like. When we live according to external standards, we might have the temporary and false satisfaction of approval, others approving of us or being satisfied with us, our partners, our parents, our bosses, even our children, our significant others. But on the inside, we won't really be fulfilled. We end up repressing our true self. It's living according to an external standard that is just that. It's not inside. And so right now, with Saturn moving direct, there's an invitation not just to like, okay, I know what I'm doing, because we could easily fall back into conditioning. There's a big dynamic within Saturn of actually unraveling our conditioning, unraveling how our consciousness has been structured to fall under certain beliefs and assumptions and constructs and patterns that are not true for us, but that we've learned. So with this, it's about, okay, there's some clarity, there's some self-knowledge really emerging here for us. And it's time to really steep in that, to feel into that. There's a beautiful invitation to know that we have the power and the strength, upon seeing clearly what it is that we need to do it. And we have the power and the strength, if we don't yet see clearly, to know what we need to do to nurture a space of clarity. We're responsible enough, we're mature enough, we're adults, we're clear. And that's the key here. It's time to take responsibility to nurture and care for our own growth, our own clarity and our own alignment. Alignment is a Saturn keyword. Because no one's gonna make us do it. No one's gonna stand above us and be like, do your homework, or whatever it might be. So there's something very peaceful that comes with landing into an alignment with the life that we are here to live. Even if it's coming from the inside, there's a resonance with, this is what I'm here to do. It's like our internal navigation system lines up with the cosmos. And there's a great peace that comes with that. So I really wish that for all of us at this time. Take the time to really get to know ourselves, and to trust that we can do this. We know what we're doing. We can find out. We can nurture clarity in our lives. So, you know, Saturn rules the South Node in Capricorn, and that's been the theme of this year. It's going to be the theme for the next several months until the spring of next year. South Node in Capricorn, North Node in Cancer. But there's a lot going on because Saturn's actually moving to be on an exact conjunction with the South Node. So right now, on the equinox, Saturn is stationing direct, building speed on the south node within a degree. And as it builds up speed, it's also moving over the south node. To give a good metaphor for this, it's kind of like, okay, your car got stuck. You couldn't move it for a while. And on the day that you're like getting the engine to start going again, it's also the day where, in this metaphor, all these ghosts from your past show up. Let's say characters just kind of show up on the street where your car is parked, and there are these scenes manifesting, and some of it's really heavy. Some of it might be really like, ooh, this is core, this is old childhood stuff. These are things from past lives I don't even know about. The thing about Capricorn is it very much speaks to our conditioning. So we're actually going to be looking at our early life conditioning, things that we were told, things that entered our consciousness that we began to believe about ourselves early on. And we may not know it. Things that we experience, and then it's like, okay, this is how I'm supposed to behave. This is what's right, this is wrong. This is who I am, this is the kind of person that I am. And it has very deep karmic roots, meaning there's a reason why all of us experience the conditioning that we've come into in this lifetime. And when you have Saturn on the south node, we're going really deep. Yeah, there's like stuff from this life, but its roots are far deep. So we're actually uncovering old karmic patterns. And there's an important teaching here, which is a part of life is playing out our karmic patterns. Like, we can't avoid it. Seriously, you can't avoid it. There's a certain degree to which life is sort of constructed as a template to experience and play out and eventually resolve when we come to the appropriate maturity and awareness. These core karmic patterns. I mean, you come into life as a child and you don't have any choice, right? You can't change things, right? The world you come into is the world you're going to have to experience. And as we develop self-awareness and maturity and consciousness, we're developing the capacity to make choices. But for many of us, our capacity to make choices is very much minimal up until a certain age, well into our adulthood. No shame or blame there. It's simply because we needed to experience a certain kind of conditioning for a certain number of years to impact us, to bring us to where we are. And unraveling that takes time. You know, unraveling that is by no means a quick experience that we can just, you know, all right, I left my home at 19 and now, boom, I'm self-aware. No, we're going to experience relationships, family, jobs. It might take well into our 30s, 40s, 50s, second Saturn return. Even our third Saturn return, which is about, like, you know, 80 something. So we all have our own timing, and that's a part of the soul construct that we come into this life. And what we can change, what we can affect, is not completely 100% within our free will any particular moment in time. There's something very humbling in acknowledging that the template of our life journey is very much programmed into this journey. And in our own timing, which is God's timing, we're able to release certain karmic dynamics and move on from them. And so this particular signature is very ripe. And, you know, if you got a lot of strong Capricorn stuff, or if you have things around, you know, the early 10 to 16 degrees or so of Capricorn, any planets in the cardinal sign squaring those points, it's a particularly potent karmic healing time for you. And in general, it's what it's like on the planet for everyone. So that really means that you can really expect this equinox time period, the rest of this year pretty much, to really be about developing the strength and the self-knowledge and the clarity to heal really deeply ingrained old karmic patterns. And how do we do that? Let's look at this equinox chart again. We actually have Venus and Mercury in Libra, squaring the nodal axis of the moon. The north node's in Cancer, with the moon right there. And that gives us a hint for where this healing is. Libra, relative to Cancer, is emotional vulnerability. Speak yourself. Let yourself be heard. Let yourself be understood for who you are. Let yourself be Libra, accepted and loved just as you are. Cancer, held in this womb of love and care. Capricorn can bring up so much judgment and shame and self-pressure. And Cancer is, I love you. You're safe, you're held. I'll feed you, I'll care for you. So this is an invitation in our own lives to meet where there might be challenges in our lives, in our relationships, and how we might be kind of holding a lot of pressure on our own selves and thus maybe pressuring other people, to meet it with a softness, which means, one, you don't have to have an answer, you don't have to have a solution, you don't have to know like this is who you're supposed to be, this is what we're gonna do, these are our expectations, agreements, plans, roles. We can relax that. We don't have to force that from a place of insecurity and fear, because that's what happens here. We're afraid of, I'm not going to get my needs met. I'm going to be unloved. I'm not going to be supported. And our deeper mother-father wounds can be coming up for us. So we'll try to force things. And Capricorn can easily default to like, okay, here are the rules. This is what we're going to do. This is what I'm going to do. This is how I'm supposed to behave. These are the kinds of relationships that I need to be experiencing right now. Because we're coming from this place of fearing that we're not going to get our deeper needs met. So the invitation is soften. You're safe. You're loved. We're here together. It's okay. There's safety here. And in that softening, there's no pressure to know what to do or how to do it or what to say. There's a tenderness, and actually opens up a space for a quality of spontaneity that you really only find in the home space, right? When do you call, imagine a child in home, right? When do you say I love you, right? When do you say how are you doing? When do you feed someone when they're hungry, right? Maybe you'll have certain structure set up which are healthy, like planned meals, but when it comes to loving and caring and nurturing, there's no schedule for it. It's just present moment. That's what's here to be addressed. As I'm gonna have a family soon, I will be learning a lot about this. And if you have a family, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And that's what can be so scary about this time, because whether or not we have a family, we're all in this family energy together. And if our heart is hardened, if we're not soft and fluid to really address the present moment and the needs that are arising right now, and the trust of just being authentic, just being vulnerable, just being real and really caring, really wanting to listen. So what's Libra relative to Cancer? What is it like to be you? What does it feel like? So becoming an invitation for that and allowing ourselves to be held and loved for that as well. So those are the main themes. We also have Jupiter squaring Neptune for the last time. That's happening pretty much right on Equinox, just a few days before. And we have Saturn sextiling Jupiter. So that's actually pretty exciting. It's a lot of like clearing energy, intuitive energy moving up. This is the last square between Neptune and Jupiter. And so it's kind of been a confusing year of a lot of curveballs and unexpected experiences, unexpected messages. And it can feel like our intuition is wonky, where we have a sense of vision, but then, you know, like those what are they called? You know, you walk down the labyrinth where it's like, I thought I was close to the center, now I'm suddenly at the edge again. Life isn't linear. It's not linear. But as we develop wisdom and intuition and a clear perspective of not our delusional ideas and concepts of how this is all going to go, the way we try to hold on to a secure vision and idea, but more of a surrender and a trust in life's plan, trusting in life's plan, not needing to have the answers, but trusting in it, surrendering to it. We begin to develop clear vision. We begin to see what's actually happening. And you know, what's always actually happening is always a lot more loving, and caring and forgiving than the version in our minds. It might be difficult at times, or it might mean letting go of certain things, but the actual reality is not out to get us. So that's also my blessing and prayer for us, that we can feel greater peace and trust during this next season. All in all, I think this equinox time really holds the potential to be very constructive and hopefully very healing, and healing of the heart, where our intuition and our relationships and our clarity can really become stronger, and we can feel more solid, more at home, more at peace with our lives. As always, I am available to be in service with my intuitive guidance, astrology readings. Check me out on my website, arimoshe.com, to book a session. This present moment.